He had that guy with the blue hair is UCal, by the way, the mid laner.
Yep, we love UCal.
UCal's been insane. UCal and Monix Sen, I think they found a real comfort place in their carry meta. UCal was a top 5 mid last year. He struggled to do that again in spring. And I'll go get your camera link as well because I need that. Let's go get that. All right, and we'll have another little bit of time until we get through stuff anyway. So let's get some browser source, I guess. Yeah, there we go. I'll put you on the other side of the screen for me.
Hell yeah.
There you go. Hey, there we go. We got you. Okay, well, thank you for disco pussy. What the fuck? You don't have LPL? Yeah, maybe. We'll see. It depends how the overlap goes with LPL. My focus is on LPL because it's where I cast. So yeah, that's the thing. I need to fix these. These are not quite aligned, these cameras, and it's really annoying me now.
Oh man.
Yeah, I'm just sat there
fiddling around with this for the longest time, trying to get it exactly pixel perfect.
So look, can I do that? Can I group these together?
Whatever,
it'll be fine. Hoy's
the technology, not the infrastructure.
Yeah. Hoya has been looking better, but then also I think that Hoya LPL this year, or is this kind of like a just jumping straight, which is completely fine if it is, by the way. Like I know this region is a lot to.
Yeah, I watched a lot of LPL in the spring,
cool.
but not as much in the summer. I got really behind on VODs.
I
had a lot of personal stuff crop up in life that I was like just getting behind, and
that is completely.
That I was like, damn, why am I so behind? This is a perfect time to get behind.
Yeah. Thank you for the message there, Harold, as well. Yeah. Okay, and I will judiciously be using my cough button because it's really good to have a cough. I basically set up my stream deck to have like a mic mute, and that has saved my life many times at this point. So remember, kids.
Oh man, that's so good.
Yeah, casters. They have health problems too, folks. Yeah. Basically, last week what I've been doing is, I'll take our cams off when we're doing this as well, so we can do that. So these are the fixes for the last 3 remaining days. So this is all Group Nirvana today. Tomorrow is Group Ascension. That will decide the seeding of NIP and LGD. So that will determine which of the teams the Nirvana groups are placing against, actually. So that's going to be really, really important. And then, of course, BLG, AL. AL have looked better, and BLG have looked not fantastic, but yeah, the last day when you've got like JDG top esports, that's actually quite important. That's a lot about current form. I think if AL win and JDG lose, there is a chance that JDG drop down all the way to 6th as well, which would be pretty disastrous for them. And this is the full table. This is all the implications of stuff. So yeah, that's the full picture. Anything else to add to this? Well, I mean, obviously we're seeing that RNG and EDG dropping out at the earliest possible opportunity. This has been a doomed year for them, which is, yeah, sad. Red is qualified to playoffs on that little tag. The little teal thing is qualified for Knights Rivals, and these are today's games, so, yeah.
Yeah, I think I read somewhere it's, WE, EDG and RNG is the first time that all 3 of them are not in the playoffs in LPL history, I think.
So RNG and EDG have both failed to get playoffs at the same time before. They had one split in like 2020? No, maybe before that. 2016? No, not 2016. It was a while ago. Maybe like 2020 or something like that.
There was a time where both of them are real stinky at the same time.
Yeah. Whereas with WE as well, that's a good point. Oh yeah, this is the roster for RNG. Tongyuan typically plays mid lane. He has been role swapped out to support because Iwandi has just upped and disappeared from the roster for reasons. So that's a thing. Gerju came in to replace Wei, who is now obviously on BLG and who's doing great for himself. So we stan him and we stan a jungle king. But Gerju is a solo queue prodigy. And he was already suspended for 2 series for basically talking shit about MVP votes in the LPL. So that was the thing. XEZ has been... So XEZ was Milky Way's mid laner. And Milky Way has, of course, taken the league by storm over on FPX. He's an incredible jungler. He's struggled this summer, actually, though, so maybe not the time for that one. But yeah, so XEZ's kind of... He's more of a supportive mid laner. I don't really like blaming people like XEZ for the situation they're in. And then, of course, we've got UCal and the boys as well. Or I don't know. I think at this point, it's kind of what I said of the boys. But UCal dyed his hair to the color of the team, so I don't know. I appreciate that commitment.
Respect for that, seriously.
Yeah. So I think Beichuan has done a really good job of transferring over to the AP jungles. He has been a good AP jungler. He was kind of like the Xinjiao guy back in spring, and he played it. Was he good at it? I don't know. It was his comfort, but hey, he's really gone well up to that. UCal is the interesting thing for me, because he actually wasn't that great on stuff like the Corki. The Corki was really bad at in group stage, but as soon as the Lucian came through into his champion pool, the Lucian and the Zeri have worked out really, really well for him. So now he's become a bit of a late game monstrosity when it goes towards those picks, but also has really good lane control. So he was taking like barrier on Zeri to win the first couple of levels of trades to give him like priority there. So I think when it comes down to this matchup, if UCal gets a real strong start against XCZ in mid lane, because XCZ is, you know, he's not necessarily a lane dominant guy, he's swapping in late into this roster, that's going to be a huge, huge issue. Also think Huan Feng has not been great in lane, and he's also playing with a role swap support, and Tang Yuan has also been really bad in early lane, and then the early roams across the map. He's great in skirmishes and teamfights later, because he's still got that map mentality as a mid laner. But my problem is, like, if you got problems in lanes versus the two biggest carries on TT, that's a problem, because 1x and UCal are going to get a ton of gold, and they're just going to skirmish. So that's my big problem with this matchup. The bonus for RNG is, this doesn't matter to them, there is zero pressure. So, but the thing is, that was also the case versus IG, the last series we saw them, and they probably should have beat, so they beat Ultra Prime with their role swap players. They should have beaten RNG, IG, rather. They should have beaten IG. So, they've actually looked a lot better than they have done before, so there's every chance that they can pull out something special here. So, yeah, that's kind of like my immediate worry point for RNG is, like, they've had no pressure before and fumbled it, and the lanes that they are not going to be great in lane with are probably where TT are going to explode. So that's... I foresee issues there. We'll put it very politely. Is next stage sure for TT? Yes. Every team is locked into which stage they are going into. The only thing we're left fighting for is seeding, but seeding is important. If TT win here, and if they win 2-0, they do get top 2. If you go top 2, you face against the other top 2 team from the Nirvana group and not the Ascension group team, which is kind of important. Because TT have... Actually, let me just check their record versus the other top teams. They lost against RA. What is this? Oh, this is the team stats. So TT, I think, lost against RA. They lost against EDG, RA, and that's the only 2 series they've lost. But they did beat OMG, and honestly, they look a lot better from when they faced RNG very early into the stage as well. So I think if you take TT and put them in top 2, I think they make it through there. So they probably knock out the other top 2. God, I mean, there might even be some really sick logic to say the team in the second series shouldn't want to win because TT will beat them, and maybe they have a better chance against a failing LGD or NIP. But then I think the difference between Ascension and Nirvana is still pretty big, so I think maybe don't risk that. Give yourself the best possible shot, folks.
Just win. Just show up,
win.
Play League of Legends, play well, and win your games.
Yes, that is typically pretty good advice. Trying to think of anything else. When it comes into draft, we'll talk more about meta, I suppose. Because yeah, I mean, there's the LPL drafts right now are made up of several different mind games which are weighed against each other. So you have stuff like the AP junglers, but there's also champions like Sejuani, which are pretty good at hard engaging. The big things which are different in the LPL, which I think are from the rest of the world, is that we have huge prio on Ash Braum, because they deal with Leona exceptionally well. Now, we have seen Ash Braum do well against Leona in other regions, but it's not as picked as much. So the problem is, people want to first pick stuff like the Leona. We'll still see the first pick of stuff like the Lucian as well. Lucian is really, really important to a lot of these teams because their mid laners have started thriving off of it. But what we're seeing is that if Ash Braum is available, then you can't pick the Leona because Ash Braum shits on that pick so hard you just don't get to play the game. So what you'll often see is like either so you can see an Ash first pick, and then the other team's like, well, I don't want to pick Leona now, so they'll pick other stuff, and they'll wait later into the draft and maybe ban away Braum, and then they'll pick up the Leona or something like that. So that's one of the mind games we have, and then of course there's stuff like the Lucian. Rumble and Ziggs are magic damage elsewhere around the map besides jungle, so sometimes we see them instead of stuff like our Zyra or Brands, but they're still around. And actually 1xN and Huan Feng have both been quite big utility AD carries when they need to as well. So they'll pick up the Ziggs. Also, 1xN has been very successful on Kai'Sa recently, which is another AP champion from bot lane. You need to get magic damage from somewhere. So most of the draft puzzle in the LPL is get one strong, consistent magic damage source somewhere. And that typically has to be in jungle, but you can see it with Ziggs, Kai'Sa in bot lane, and occasionally stuff like the Rumble or the Cannon top lane. And that kind of fills out our whole picture with stuff. And if you're a weird team like Fun plus Phoenix, occasionally you just put Rumble in support as well, because Life's really good at that, because he still plays that. Yeah, so that's...
Yeah, it was played, yeah, it was played the other day, wasn't it? Yeah, that was...
It was played.
That was something.
It was played. Not sure it was good, but it was played. We'll believe it.
They definitely participated on that pick for sure. Yeah. I mean, it's been really crazy to see certain champions throughout the year and seeing how things have evolved, like just be in positions that this just feels so grossly incorrect. I mean, like I remember when everybody started doing Kalista Rumble for the longest time.
Oh yeah, that was
my god, dude.
Kalista
it's just so disgusting. Why did it ever work? Why did it ever work? How did they let this happen?
They changed Rumble, so as support, you don't need to put points into your Q. You can just put them into your E, and you can just magic resist shred. And then you have a Kalista, but you usually have a get out of jail free button. So they've got a thing with the It was really funny having the Kalista Varus bot lanes, having them either way, where you'd have either the Kalista go support and go like full cooldown reduction for their ultimate. So then Varus is actually a mobile champion. It's like having a Thresh Lantern with a lane dominant support instead of a Thresh, which isn't that right now. Yeah, that was nasty.
RIP.
Okay, folks. I'm probably going to run an ad break now, just so we don't have it while we're coming out onto stage and stuff. So we're going to run that. And if you don't want to see ads, you can... Well, I mean, you can watch on Twitch you can watch on Twitch or YouTube, so you can have a preferred platform. That's Tax. Thank you so much for the resub, and you can do that to avoid adverts. Isn't that incredible? You too, with the power of Prime, with the power of subscription, can avoid adverts and help support us on channels like these. Yeah. And they just self-sabotaged in both splits to the point where they are now a bottom 2 team in the LPL, which is from being a contender for top 4 is absolutely disastrous. So that's the thing. Do you have a favorite player in the LPL, by the way? If you had to name one, or any teams or any teams or players which you like? I won't challenge you to say.
Yeah, no. I really enjoyed watching top esports quite a bit. And
they're a fun team. They're a very fun team.
Jackie Love's been around for so long to really enjoy watching him play. But like, there are definitely a couple other players that I'm like, I would much rather like watch this guy play. Milky Way when he was lighting the world on fire, and I'm really hoping he's able to, you know, find himself soon and come back up to like a really good level. You know, it'll take time, and we might not see that until 2025. It's just what happens. Sometimes you get figured out for a little bit, and you know, gotta make like a couple of tweaks to your game.
At least they're in playoffs. They're guaranteed in playoffs, so at least they get that. Yeah. But then the problem is, like, I mean, I'm trying to think of who they'll be facing right now, because they're currently like bottom end of. They'll be in the early rounds. They'll probably start in like round 2 or round. Yeah, they'll probably start around round 2. I think if they finish in 7th, which is not looking particularly healthy for them, actually. That could be a bit of a... Well, yeah, so they're going to have to run the gauntlet. I mean, yes, they did clutch out games versus LGD and NIP. They probably should have lost those series too, so I don't know. If there isn't a massive meta shift coming through from time away, because for once, we're going to have a big break between regular season and then playoffs, which we don't normally have. Normally it's like 3 days and then you blam straight into it, and then it's matches every day. It means if you're doing the gauntlet, you are playing every other day, so you play 1 day on, and if you then proceed, you then go 1 day off, and then you play the other day after that, because each side of the bracket plays kind of like syncopated. At least you get some time to take a step back from the meta, have a read of it, and then come back to it. Of course, that can be a problem too, because if you just get the wrong read, then there's no chance to adjust.
Then you're doomed. Absolutely doomed.
Single elimination. I do think that LPL's playoffs format is ruthless, but is my favorite playoffs format in the world. It is relentless as a caster and as a viewer, but oh my god, it's so good at figuring out what the best team in the league is. So yeah.
You want something like that, especially in the LPL,
absolutely.
because where on any given day, you take a look at like top 4 teams can trade games off each other and things like that. So it is really nice to just like, all right, we are cutting the fat immediately. Here are your really good teams. Here's who we're taking to Worlds. Let's go have a great year.
Yeah. Do I think this will be a 2-0? If it's not a 2-0, something has gone horribly wrong for Thunder Talk. But this is Group Nirvana. These are not teams which are flawless. TT have had some awful games along with their excellent ones. There is every chance that something random happens. RNG are playing with 0 pressure. TT are playing for a top 2 spot, and it's an important game for them. Now, typically, TT, when it comes to like our Nirvana group teams, have done better under pressure than most of our other teams here. So, hey, there's some bonuses to that. Yeah, I think that just on paper, I look at the matchups, I think that mid lane's going to be an issue for RNG, because XCZ, I think he's good. I think that I'm glad that I'm seeing an LPL. You just don't want to be against a resurging UCal. That he's just a really good player, and his understanding of lane matchups right now is really pretty good. And also in bot lane, I actually quite like how Tongyuan's been playing recently. Kira was trying to convince me that Tongyuan was a good player, and I wasn't having any of it. And then he like completely shit on Ultra Prime, and I was sat there thinking, yeah, this guy's actually pretty good. So if he is role swapped though, and the problem is, being a role swap support means that particularly your early lane understanding and then your early roams aren't always as easy. Once he gets into mid and late game, he's fine and knows how to orchestrate a team fight, but having that weakness in that lane can be a big issue. So that is my worry coming through from this. Right, look at these interesting things on screen. Wow, this was basically a Yu-Gi-Oh opening to the LPL this year. It was very fun.
That's super sick, by the way. Like,
Yeah.
When are we getting League of Legends on motorcycles?
True. Oh my god, is that Zexel? Zexiel? I remember. I never watched that season, but I saw that it released, and I was thinking, hang on, what the hell? We're biker gang card duelists. That's great.
At my job, I've been actually watching back like season 1 of Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah?
I'm in the office because I'm like in the office alone for like 4 hours at nights, and I'm just like, man, I haven't watched this since I was like 6 or 8. I don't know.
Yu-Gi-Oh! I think Yu-Gi-Oh! Has aged well. Beyblade hasn't. I watched
Yeah,
back
no,
Beyblade, and Beyblade is not good anymore, folks, which is really upsetting to me. So I watched like one episode, and I thought, I'm not going to watch this again. I'm going to keep this as a sacrosanct memory somewhere locked inside my brain. And it's remained that way.
Honestly, for the best. I think the most interesting thing about like early season Yu-Gi-Oh is that like Joey Wheeler barely learns how to play the game before he's got to go up against like like Rex Raptor or whoever the hell he plays against, who was like finished like 2nd at regionals, by the way. It's really the equivalent of like RNG going and winning a game off of like Weibo or something like that. And it's just like, how do they do that? Oh no, man, he just showed up and started playing his cards, and crazy shit started happening.
All right, folks. So we're going to head onto the stage soon. Volumes are going to get a little bit strange because, again, things change from in studio and onto the stage from their end. Let us know if there are any audio issues. I will be keeping an eye on chat vaguely for that stuff. Just tag me if you have any issues with what's going on there. I've kind of been eyeballing it and hoping that it works out for the best, and we'll keep it that way. And yeah, we'll have ourselves a good old time. And of course, thank you for everyone that has supported us through this throughout the entire year. For those of you who haven't seen this channel before, we have been covering all of the LPL games which are not broadcast officially in English. And now, at this point, we've done, I mean, God, almost 200. Legitimately, almost 200. On our own stream, here, we've ended up doing more games than most casters will do in an entire year. And that's while I'm also doing the LPL official broadcast as well. So it has wrecked my voice. It has wrecked my free time and everything. However, it has also been really, really cool. Am I feeling better? Not 100%. I'm still coughing a little bit, but I will soldier through these last couple of days. I'll do this day and tomorrow, and then I'll get myself a sizable break. But yeah, for those of you who have tuned in, who've come to support this channel and to enjoy both the teams, the players, and us casting it, it means an awful lot. And yeah, I don't know whether I'd like this to happen next year, because it means that casters aren't casting all of the games next year. But if it isn't, I'll probably keep doing this again, folks. It has been a really cool experience. So yeah, thanks everyone for joining. And of course, Yanni, thanks for stepping in today as well. First time casting together with Yanni, who you do NACL. Is there any other projects you're involved with right now? Or in the past, anything you want people to know about?
Yeah, not at the current moment. I just try to cast anything that I can when it comes to
Perfect.
League of Legends, and just been, like playing and paying attention to League for a super long time since like Season 2. League boomer over here.
Great stuff. I'm really happy that you've turned up today. So we'll get to know each other on the cast, and we'll get to enjoy some of this gameplay as well. Our first matchup of the day is Thundertalk Gaming versus Royal Never Give Up. This is in Group Nirvana, so this is the bottom teams in the LPL scrapping it out for an extra chance at making it further. RNG sadly have already been eliminated. They will be. This is their last series. You will see them again in either Demacia Cup or in LPL proper in 2025. So RNG, legendary organization, it has been a terrible year for them. I think the problems really haven't stopped for this roster. The only player which was starting at the start of the year for this team, I guess you could say Tang Yuan and Huan Feng, but Tang Yuan's even been role swapped. This team's changed jungle support multiple times. It's changed top laners. They had ZDZ before. But weirdly enough, I have to say, in their last couple of series, RNG have looked better than they've done for a lot of the rest of the year. I think the pressure being off and just being in such an absurdly difficult situation has somewhat helped this team, because no one's expecting anything of them now. Despite the black and gold colors, despite the logo, this team, the pressure's off in a lot of ways. And I'm sure the fans will still want this team to succeed, but hey, yeah, for a last time this year, we get to see Royal Never Give Up walk out onto the stage.
07 salute, RNG. 07 salute. I'm excited to see what Juice is gonna do today. Honestly, just pretty much starting out in this LPL career. I think it's always nice to see some new top laners come out because they usually come out with a bit of a splash at times.
Yeah, I think that Juice. God, do you know what? Can you think of? You're in the LPL. Give me a top list of 3 people you don't want to face as your debut game as a top laner. Just have a think. Who would you not want to face? Because I'm thinking.
Yeah, I don't want to face Bin.
Yeah.
If I'm a top laner, I don't think I want to face 369.
Yep, that's another.
And I don't want to face Ale.
Okay,
honestly.
so you know what? You know what his first game was? It was against Bin. So that was really not a great debut match for him.
Yeah,
he got
in the bin. Sadly,
he got slapped around. But you know what? Since then, he's done a hell of a good job. Graham's job, by the way, thank you so much for the continued support. Another gift bomb given out to the community of 5 community subs. I really appreciate that. As we see TT walk out onto the stage, and we will be seeing them again after this series because, of course, they will be fighting in the Knights rival stage. Which part of that stage they'll be playing into in terms of their seeding for that is subject to change. If they 2-0 today, they will get themselves in as a top 2 seed from the Nirvana group, and they'll be playing against the other top seed from the Nirvana group. If they drop a game here, there's a chance that they drop down below top 2, and if they lose the series, they definitely will drop low into 3rd or 4th instead. Into 3rd, I think that's where the lowest they can drop. And that means they'll be facing off against an Ascension team instead. So, TT, series is quite important for them. I think even though LGD and NIP have looked poor in the Ascension group, they are still in the Ascension group, and they still have some incredibly powerful players, and though they might have been exposed against some of the best teams in the LPL, this is going to be a scrap in the next stage. So TT, they will very much want to avoid that as we head into this series. So that's the stakes coming into it. What we said coming into this, I am quite afraid for RNG in AD carry and in mid lane. Particularly considering how good he was in 2023. So XEZ against UCAL, that's a key matchup for me to see if XEZ can survive in that matchup and bring value and not allow UCAL to just run over that lane. However, that's not the only lane I am worried about because, yeah, AD carry is also going to be a bit of a worry now for RNG. I love the crowd sides, man. These are great.
Oh my god, that's such a sick sign.
Because Huan Feng is a legend. This guy's a legend. World finalist with Suning back in 2020. His laning phase hasn't been excellent, and I think that when he's playing with a role swap support in Tanyuan, as much as I have a lot of love for what he's been doing for that team as well, it's just not an easy situation. It's not easy at all. So playing as 1xN, who has been the most consistent and high-level player for TT on the other side, who is another LDL rookie coming up through to the 4 as well. I think 1xN has been absolutely fantastic to watch. That AD carry role could also be blown out in Thundertalk's favor.
Yeah, and I really like what you said about XEZ and UCAL, mostly because XEZ, as you talked about, really good at supporting his carry junglers. Guess what? The mid pool is not really conducive to that. UCal really good at running people over. Guess what? The mid lane pool in the meta is super conducive to that. I think that might be the bigger worry than the bot lane, because I think you know what you're kind of getting into with Tangwan getting swapped. You just kind of know that, like, this might be a little ugly.
Yeah, that's true. You're sat there thinking, look, buddy, just do your best. Did UCal just do jazz hands? Did you just?
I believe so. I saw. I saw those jazz hands. I even looked back at your stream, saw those jazz hands.
Perfect. So we should be getting into draft fairly soon. Yes, a reminder, folks, there are stakes for both of our Nirvana series today as well. And thank you for popping in and watching our stream again. We have 2 days left of the non-English broadcast games for the LPL for this year. We've been helping do a stopgap measure effectively where we have the clean feed and we help cast this as well. If you notice there's problems in any audio, or you think there's a balancing problem where you can't hear the game enough or you can't hear us enough, please let us know with that as well, as we're working things out on the fly. My name's Nymera, also known as Alex, and this is Yanni, who is joining to cast me today. And you might have seen us on various different projects like NACL for Yanni and myself. I've been on LEC, LPL, and a whole handful of other projects across time because I'm a little bit addicted to casting at points. I've cast about 360, 370 games this year, and in like 6 months, it has been frankly too much. But hey, that's the love of the game, I suppose, something like that.
Hey, listen, you're doing a great service to the people. Your voice, smooth like butter. Like,
not now.
You're giving that out to the people.
Right now, it's got that kind of like shredded edge to it right now. But I appreciate.
You still sound great. You still sound great, my guy.
God, we love that positivity in here. Yeah, we should be getting into draft soon. Trying to think what the priority picks are going to be, because I believe TT are on red side. Oh, that's the thing. You can tell actually by the color of the stage behind them. I love the LPL stage because they just color the blue and red side like this. Man. So even if they change sides, you can see the color of the stage light up behind them as well. So red side.
Dude, that player card is sick, by the way.
There are some. By the way, I have a ruler player card from in London from last year. There were some folks who were doing some fan giveaways, and yeah, I got myself some merch for that one. So, but enough about it.
Dude, that's so sick.
It is really sick. And you know what else is sick? We're getting into draft for game 1. Welcome everyone to our first game of the day. We've seen RNG and Thunder Talk Gaming. RNG 0 stakes for them. Thunder Talk, this could solidify them into top 2. A lot of our priority picks are already starting to get rattled through. We talked about the importance of getting magic damage somewhere in your team from different roles. That's why the Ziggs has been banned. But also the Lucian and the Ashe being banned away from Thunder Talk removed some of their powerful combos and also some of the powerful laning tools from UCal.
Yeah, and with that Zyra getting taken away by RNG, it feels like we're really cutting out these magic damage dealers, and of course that Lilia going too. I mean, it almost feels like you're kind of priced into picking your magic damage early, like this Rumble here.
Exactly.
TT is going to be able to respond to that pretty easily.
Yeah, so Rumble's been nerfed on this patch. We are onto 14-14 now, but it's still powerful. So Juice is going to pick that one up. We'll see what Hoya wants to go towards in that top side. We have occasionally seen stuff like the Twisted Fate or the Cannon into it to play carry into carry, but Cassante can also do fine at kind of bracing towards those team fights. TT, they will pick themselves up some of their own carries at this point. 1xN has been a magnificent Ezreal player. UCal potentially going towards something like a Zeri later into the draft too can be important. But of course, with the Ashe off the table, Ashe Braum is also not there to counter the Leona, which is an easy lock in towards Feather, who has been a very important teamfight menace for TT.
And seeing that misfortune come through, it's always a bit of a scary pick at times when you are staring down a Leona in the face, because we all know what low mobility misfortune has when it comes to her abilities. And almost guarantee that you're going to have to at least take a cleanse or nice defensive summoner. And with the Skorky coming through, this is looking like nice standard stuff out of RNG, which I must admit, I'm a little disappointed by, because I was hoping they'd pull out something a little crazier today.
Well, the thing is, they have all the crazy stuff happening with where their players are playing already, so maybe they've already got their dosage of that. With the Corki coming in, UCal, it's an easy lock into the Zeri for him. Zeri has been such a power pick for UCal over any other player within the mid lane of the LPL. He sometimes goes towards that barrier in harder matchups. He was taking it into the Lucian, but he's very happy to play that into the Corki as well. The key with Corki matchups is being able to dash out of that Frost Bomb early, which you can do with stuff like the Spark Surge coming through from that Zeri. Now we're getting through into that second round. Notice that RNG don't really have any engage, so they're still probably looking for something like probably a Rel wouldn't be go amiss for Tanyuan, who's a big player of that. See, actually, the Braum's banned away and the Sejuani by TT, so they know that there's a little bit of that countering at that Leona, a little bit of the engage coming across on the other side. Whereas RNG, they're banning away some of the magic damage and potentially some of the better matchups into that Rumble.
And one thing we could see from RNG is potentially Nautilus as well. You want that nice point and click to try to deal with UCal, keep him down a little bit. Everybody has always seen it to be as a problem when you don't have that point and click CC to deal with his area. And then, of course, TT, want to see them pick up their magic damage. I'm honestly not quite sure where it's going to come from. But it's going to have to be out of the jungle at this point if they want to go into it. So, you know, maybe Karthus?
Karthus is probably
Maokai's gone.
Yeah, Karthus is what I'm thinking of. The Nara is an easy enough pick into the Rumble. Nara's been really coming back to prominence because it feels like it just does a jack of all trades for everything right now. It's going to do fine into the nerfed Rumble. I think before the nerfs, I would have said you're trolling if you're picking this, but it's a lot better. We've also seen bits of Aatrox around the place. RNG still looking for their engage, probably looking towards that Alistair. That's a very nice one there. I'm kind of surprised they don't go towards that Rel. It's much better for playing around the Misfortune combo, kind of dragging people together and kind of sticking them into that play. And Geju going towards his last pick in the jungle could potentially look for his own lock away of something in there. And he locks in the Graves. Now, Geju is one of the rare few Graves players in the LPL. It's him, it's Griffith, also known as GLFS. And sometimes Milky Way plays that as well. So that's going to be locked in as an extra damage source. Very long-range damage coming in from RNG, but very squishy and relying on Tanyuan to have very good engage to set up for things. Beidra on the other side does bring some magic damage in, and he goes towards the Nidalee. Now, Nidalee, very, very aggressive. Not that much setup around the map, though, so tentatively, we've been handing out, this happens with the Renekton as well, but worldwide, I think it's much more of a recognized thing. The Nidalee pass, you must be this good to play Nidalee to justify the pick. Beidra's going to lock this in. It is against a struggling RNG, but Geju is a solo Q menace, and he has played this Graves on stage before, and this will give a lot of burst damage. If Beidra could get into his jungle and shut down this Graves early, that could be a very big power point for TT. I think they have themselves a stable set of carries, and they have probably easier engage with the Solar Flare. But on the other side, huge amounts of one-born damage coming from RNG if they can set it up. The setup is hard, but both teams have a lot of damage to bring to bear.
Yeah, and the one other thing about the setup that's hard for RNG is that Tangwan kind of also has to play defender a little bit and try to keep a Gnar out in certain situations when he's going to go Mega Gnar, or keep Leona out from getting to the carries, which means that you don't have a whole lot of CC left to throw at the key members on the other side of Thunder Talk. And that is really where I'm concerned about this RNG composition, is that you're not going to be able to touch these carries after a certain amount of time if it's Gnar going in, if it's Leona going in on their terms.
So you heard it from both of us. RNG, the stakes don't really matter that much for them. TT, this could lock them a top 2 as we get ourselves closer and closer towards that rift. We'll pump the volume and we'll see exactly how the Gyos feel on the rift as well. We're here in Shanghai for our last 2 series of that Nirvana group, both into this first series and the second series. TT, they lock themselves in a lot of damage, but that is more than matched by RNG. It will be about setup, it will be about execution on that damage as we go onto the rift and hear those crowds scream for this first game.
I always love that, man. It's so great. It gets me so amped up.
I love the Chinese crowd. So the way it works, for those of you that don't know, there is a crowd kind of leader, a chant leader within the crowd that says, like, the team name says RNG, and then everyone replies with Chao, and then they'll do that 3 times, and then the other team will have the chance to do it. So it's a very organized affair. So once you hear those, once you hear 3 from each team, you know it's technically done. But then you'll also have some people where there's the famous one in LPL is actually shouting LGD. Because LGD it kind of became like the TSM chant of Chinese fans. That was so that was just a thing. Fun thing about LGD, the name doesn't actually mean that much. It means Laogandier, which is a kind of chili oil, as a chili oil sponsor, which they no longer have a sponsor for anymore. Anyway, TT walking in for level 1. Beichuan looking to get aggressive early and just force Geju away from his first camp.
Yeah, it's great stuff. Exactly what you want to do to set this Graves behind. And there's not much the bot lane of RNG can do, except for a flash knockup on top of Beishuan, who is ignited, and he does go down. It's first blood over to Huan Feng. They do get a trade of kills back, and that means that a lot of flashes are going to get burnt, and Feather has no flash left to burn. So 2 kills for Huan Feng is fantastic for RNG.
And Vodafone gets away with an absolute miracle early game. TT, they try and go for the early invade, they try and get Baytron onto the board early, and they absolutely mess it up. They try and get themselves this Nidalee into a point of power, and RNG immediately slap back. Lane dominance from MF is the name of the game. You're already getting yourself onto the board very, very early. I guess the saving grace for TT is that he hasn't gone back for his items just yet. But this is a disaster start for TT and for Baytron, who on this Nidalee needs to get stuff going early, and that's not going to happen now. So now TT, sadly for what I said, his 100th game with the LPL starts very poorly for him.
Oh, that's a tough life. And there's Ignite in the top lane and a flash auto forward. He's not able to out heal the potion. Juice with a solo kill. The pressure is getting to TT right now, man.
And Yanni, buddy, I hope you're enjoying your first game of LPL here, because we've started off
always a banger.
with 4 kills in under 3 minutes. God, I love these teams. TT, this game means so much for them at RNG. It matters so little. They are currently the worst positioned team within the LPL. They would need to 2-0 to get themselves off the bottom rung of the standings. But that also means they have 0 pressure on them. Juice, he has been, of course, he replaced ZDZ earlier in the year, and the bot lane as well from RNG. Well, the whole team has changed at this point. RNG, they're coming out really, really strong. Where are the gold leads leading to? Of course, in that bot lane, it's huge. But, you know, Juice, even on the nerfed Rumble, in an isolated situation, gets that kill with the Ignite early on, cools eyes don't look at explosions, and Hoya, who has had better laning phases recently, falls down very, very quickly. TT, this is the worst possible start.
Yeah, and not only that, it's your range champion into melee champion. That's also an extra feels bad. You always get some satisfaction as a top laner when you are able to get a kill there, and I think what's super concerning is that you know, you can't really stop the Huanfeng train right now because he has both of his summoners up. So you could make a move to try to deal with Juice, but again, because there's not a whole lot of CC when you come up top, unless Hoya goes into Meganar, Beishuan is very limited in where he can go.
That is a huge issue, and in fact, that's exactly what I was going to talk about next. So good job, you read my mind on that one, which is okay.
Hey,
you have
got you, bro.
Yeah, so you have the Nidalee. What does Nidalee do? Okay, she bullies you around early and tries to look for these early setup ganks. Is the setup in the room with us? Hoya is going to get himself a stun there onto Juice, and he's going to try and get himself a trade back. But, you know, early Swifties on Juice is already a real pain for Hoya, because once you prop that Flame Spitter, it's really hard to start walking away. Even if you get hit by the Boomerang, the slow is much less impactful at that point because of the impact of the Swiftness boost. And look at this, just goes over here, immediately gets himself onto him, hits himself with the E. I mean, Hoya, he is getting absolutely brutalized in this matchup. And for a player that had his debut against Bin, that is about the hardest debut you can have. But since then, I do think that Juice has been doing well at getting his own advantages. Sometimes he hasn't capitalized on them well, but the advantages have been there all the same. Can he keep it with no Flash versus Baytron, who's walking up here? There is a Wards who should know about this, and that should be the end of this.
Yeah, he is just doing his thing right now. Honestly, battle tested after, you know, having to deal with Bin, and Beishuan is not able to help out as much as you'd really like your jungler to. At least Hoya is going to be able to get this wave in. But he's going to get driven off and ignited again. Never mind, bro. Never mind. Juice is just... He's going crazy right now.
You know, I've heard of apple juice, I've heard of orange juice, maybe even a little bit of grapefruit juice, but I've never heard of Hoya juice before, because that's exactly what's happening in the top side. Is Hoya, he's been turned into like little lumpy bits at this point. Like, it's a 0-2. No, what do you do from behind the game like this? I mean, this has been a solo advantage. And need we remind you, there is 0 pressure for RNG, which is why, on paper, TT should be dominating this matchup. This should not be a close series. RNG are the worst team in the LPL, and TT look like one of the best teams in the Nirvana group. For this early game, with no pressure on RNG, and with all the pressure on TT for them to try and claim a top 2 spot and give themselves an easier chance in the next stage, are not having a fun time of it. Baytron's going to go towards those grubs. The Dragon was taken earlier by RNG, but honestly, the focus of this game is about this level 6 on this... Like, Juice is absolutely mauling this matchup.
Oh my god, dude. Yeah, this is getting ridiculous at this point, and Hoya just can't get this wave in, and there is not any help coming, at least for a little bit, because of these grubs that are getting done. The good news is that means Hoya is able to get a first move, but since they're already done, there's nothing you can really do. So let's talk about TT. You can hang your hat on UCal right now, at least. He's farming well.
Yeah, and he's on the Zeri, which he's done a lot of work with. I also think that the big thing I'm gonna be looking for later on is RNG have enough CC to set up the first bit of the wombo combo, because they have the Alistair combo going onto a set of targets. If you hit enough people with the MF ult, the Rumble ult, and then the Graves ult too, that is someone dying, and it might be multiple people dying. If someone escapes, what does that mean for RNG? Because if it's UCal escaping while he has a lot of power, I don't think RNG deal very well with that, because if UCal space as well and he doesn't get hit by something like a stray Electro Harpoon, which leads into being like a huge amount of damage and then the slow on top of that too, I do think that UCal can solo carry this fight. There is not that much tankiness at all on RNG. And speaking of UCal, he's going to get the absolute dick move from Geju, stopping that recall there. I appreciate the mentality, I guess.
No, you know what? I love that, mostly because any little thing that you can do to make sure that UCal is not the one who's able to run away with this game and find a way in for TT is going to pay off in spades, because it's going to take a while for UCal to actually get there. And, you know, who knows, in 5 minutes after, you know, a dragon and after more grubs after the dust settles, we could be talking about how, wow, UCal either has 0 kills, 2 deaths, or 3 kills and no deaths. And you know, TT's back in the game somehow.
The thing is, I didn't think we'd be saying that from the first, 2 minutes of the game for Wanfeng, who is potentially going to be the recipient of another play down towards bot side as well. 1xN getting himself some shots on target. 1xN, of course, has been a huge star player for TT, and while he is behind in gold, that's more a testament to Wanfeng getting lots of gold rather than 1xN not having gold in his own state as well. So if UCal and 1xN can be, once again, that double carry threat from TT, that's still something for them to be focusing on, especially when they get towards that second item state for the two of them. We don't really see ourselves in an entrance towards a fight anytime soon right now. In the next 2 minutes, we'll have those grubs up, and then if TT can get themselves towards multiple grubs, I think that's where we'll start seeing things differently. Of course, you have double teleports from TT. God, Juice is doing so much of this overheat. The swiftness boost making it so much easier to chase down, but Juice is great in this 1v1, but he doesn't have a teleport. He has that ignite, and then suddenly look at a UCal and Hoya who do have those double globals, and if they get towards 6 grubs, they're very happy about that. So that means that they can kind of play around maybe teleporting into XEZ's lane, knowing that Juice can't respond, and they can use maybe 6 grubs to take side lane advantages. We'll see whether they get them in the first place. TinyOne and Geju going into the enemy jungle.
Gonna get right on top of this Leona. It's not going to do a whole lot of damage. And now potential turnaround here as the Solar Flare comes out. Geju a little stuck here. He's able to get away from the CC for now, but chasing him down, and it's time for UCal to speed skate around this fight. Great ultimate coming out from the Misfortune, but after a couple minutes, it doesn't hit anybody else, and these health bars are getting real low. It's UCal and it's 1xN getting the kills for TT, charged up back in the game.
What did we say? The double carry combo of UCal and 1xN can still do a hell of a lot of damage. It is a good bullet time. It's not a bad first kill from RNG as well, but they just allow UCal to get that first ult of the game and get huge value with it. Zeri does damage early. If you allow them to keep going through with that ultimate, it's a huge issue. And TinyOne and Geju, they go into the enemy jungle, but they just don't get the value. TinyOne needs to be so careful with his early skills. You only have one combo to set up for your team. He uses it to go in there, and it's a big problem. Geju's then left alone. You don't have the follow-up coming through because UCal's there first, and Feather massively locks down onto Graves. Yeah, Feather's still locked in on the backside of this too, so he goes down, but the fact that this was so disconnected between jungle support and the lane supporting them is a big issue for RNG, because that's now given a lot of this early gold lead back over to TT.
Oh, and by the way, UCal getting priority in the mid lane because he's been so good on these champions. A big reason why XZC was not able to get into that fight soon enough. The supports are here. They're mean mugging each other, just looking around like, hey, don't you touch my mid laner. You stay away.
It's been for a long time now, mid lane hasn't actually been a 1v1 lane because jungle support typically when you get resets in bot lane or you win bot lane, support has a very easy time when your AD carry is resetting to just walk towards mid lane and make sure there's no funny business there. And you can see that these support moves can be very, very impactful in plays like that, and also around playing towards objectives like this. Beitram going to get a dragon for TT, so that means that our early objectives are split right down the middle. TT with 3 grubs and the Infernal Dragon, and of course RNG with an Ocean Dragon and 3 grubs of themselves. So no Grubageddon coming in from TT, as we like to call it here, or the Zerg Rush, or I don't know, Tyranid Hive Fleet. There are many things you can call it here. But it's still going to be, I think, given the level 1, a pretty good early game from TT. Their laning phase in top lane is still going to be a worry. I'm still worried about what happens the first time that Juice comes up to lay down the red carpet for TT in a team fight. That's going to be an issue. But considering that they're now 1,000 gold ahead, given that level 1, this is a much better start for them.
And they might try to end some games here, although it doesn't look like it, as Geju does not want any part of this. They'll just take whatever chip damage on the turret they can get, and that's really the top lane difference between the summoners. Was a big reason why that fight went well for TT. Juice not having a teleport available to try and show up and help his team out. When you are missing one of your strongest members on your team, you're almost guaranteed to lose a fight.
That's one of the things which really changes early game fights compared to mid game fights. Because in mid game, you just expect everyone to be there. You know, you get the do you remember? Hang on, do you remember the Pantheon Talia bot lane that was played? Yeah, do you remember that?
I want to forget. Yeah. I want to forget.
But it was like, hey,
it's all globals.
It's all globals all the time, and it's the Avengers assemble, where you just get everyone flying in from across the map. And right now we have stuff like the Talia and Twisted Fate in meta too, where just everyone turns up at the same play. It's not quite the same as when we had, you know, the 6-man bot lane plays. Or like 10-man, or like the 10-man bot lane plays at level 4 or level 5, just because mid laners could teleport down there as well with top laners from the very early levels. But it still feels like you just have the Avengers Assemble moment in most mid-game fights. Early games, a lot of the time you start there like, guys, I don't even have like my first base yet. I can't help you. I can't do that for you. You must do this yourself. You're going down a path I can't follow.
What do you mean? You have teleport. Big knockups coming through and a flash forced out of 1xN. Great job by the RNG bot lane on the shift.
That's a good play from Tanyuan. Does lose half his HP, but 1xN not having flash is more important because this Ezreal doesn't have to worry about much in team fights, especially if you have flash and E. Don't tell anyone. No one tell Noah about that. But if he has that flash, it really does make a difference. Hoy does have Mega Knock coming up. Can they burst him out? Don't think so right now. With the Merc Treads, definitely makes him a lot more safe versus Juice.
Yeah, just a bit of a drive-by and a lot less value from Graves coming up to try and help out as XZZ forced to flash away. On this bottom side, I mean, TT is just given so much gold over to UCal right
So
now.
if you want to learn about LPL macro, it's slightly different here because Huanfeng's gotten such a good advantage here in the mid lane. But once we get to around about 12 minutes, you see mid laners going towards side lanes and get gifted a load of gold. And we saw that happen with UCal. You can see that in the top lane, it was Juice and Geju trying to get something out of this top lane turret. They don't get any plates there. You do get plates out of the bot lane. And what that means is that one of the roles which I was really worried about, this mid lane, is suddenly exploded in favor of UCal. This is with a cull on either side. It's not even with a cull differential on one side or the other. UCal's just gotten all that gold from the early plays, a CS lead, and then the plates in the first turret being taken over as well. And you know what happened in that bot river earlier in terms of him getting huge amounts of damage? That can happen at any moment now, because we're talking about Ezreal being hard to catch in these fights. Very similar situation, and Zeri has a absolute butt ton of gold to throw at these next fights.
Yeah, just a little too good for TT ever since that jungle fight. Things have gone the RNG way, I guess we'll call it, for this split, because it has been a tough split for them, as you talked about earlier. And this is where you're starting to see the struggle of trying to set things up. I am still awaiting them to have a fight involving Juice, and it would be just the greatest tragedy of all time if by the time he shows up, it's far too late. You're already down 1,500 gold. It's not a whole lot, but it's worrisome.
Would you like to know the results that RNG have had since Xiao, who has left the roster? Hang on, there might be negation. You know, we'll talk about that later. Tao's gone. Have they lost a life for it, though? Beichuan.
Huanfeng taking a lot of damage, but the bullet time along with the stun, it's a lot of damage onto Ezreal. The question is, can they turn it around, as it's UCal coming in and poking away, trying to speed skate around. Is forced to flash away. Some teleports coming in as XZZ, trying to put in as much damage as he can, but unable to take anybody else out.
So UCal comes in and cleans up, does have to blow his flash because Tanyuan has a good couple of combos there. 1xN not having that flash really becomes up paying dividends, and UCal now losing himself that flash too maybe can be kind of leveraged in the future. Problem is, wasn't leveraged right there. The tower goes down in mid lane. That is a big win from RNG. But just watch how Tanyuan's playing through this. I mean, he gets himself a good combo on. Needs to keep having fights like this, and maybe it'll work out a little better for them the next time.
Yeah, and we talked about how if he's the one who's going in, who is going to protect the carries, and that's exactly what you saw with Huanfeng having to flash. It's just a little bit too much. They put too much burden on him that even if he's having these crazy good fights, it just might not be enough.
So, just before that, I was going to ask that question of, hang on, are we going to see an alter pick? I'd really like to talk about how RNG, as soon as Xiaohu left this roster, they have had their results. So this is since the 23 spring. They ended up finishing in 7th to 8th in LPL spring. In summer, they ended up 9th to 10th. Then in 24 spring, they were 14th. And now they find themselves at the very bottom of the roster. This has been a continual downswing since RNG lost themselves that core of their dynasty. You know, it really was about Xiaohu over time, and Xiaohu moved on to Weibo. He reached the World Finals, and yes, he's had an up and down performance, but he has definitely won out on the splitting of the ways there between those two teams. The fall from grace from RNG is tragic. It's absolutely tragic. This is one of the greatest teams in all league history, and one of the greatest teams ever within the LPL. And it's sad to see them in this state. You know, they are at a point where they're 1-5 down in the losers group of the Rumble stage, in Nirvana group. They will try and rebuild for the next year and maybe try and throw an extra spanner in the wrench here for this one. But it has just been a really sad year or two for RNG, and it hasn't gotten any better. So maybe look towards another fight.
Looks like everybody will be okay for right now, except for RNG, who really have they been okay the entire year. You know, the good news is they have more opportunities to find their identity going into like 2025 and beyond. Because, you know, as you said, when you lose your identity, things get tough. Oh my God, the poke damage. You know, I swore I saw an LPL TikTok just like that earlier today.
Yeah, the spear hits. Turns out we have a new hope here in the jungle. Obe-Chuan Kenobi helps with the spear out there, long range, and absolutely slaughters down Huan Feng. We do have a catch onto Feather, but he has flash and ult. He's not going to be any danger. And now TT with Herald, they're going to keep pushing for a fight.
Oh, he is the danger. He wants to go back in. Equalizer out. It's just going to force Yucal to hop over the wall. And Tangwan, unfortunately, will fall, and that means the siege is going to continue in the mid lane. The minions have been cleared out finally, but RNG just cannot stop this onslaught from TT.
No, absolutely not. I really feel like every time that Tanyuan is misusing a combo or his ult, Yucal just jumps at him. Yucal just jumps at him and runs him down. This is the problem with the Zeri. So funnily enough, when Zeri came out on the LEC, I did a Zeri champion spotlight. I did that in one of the pre-shows on my very first show on the LEC back in 2022. It's a fond memory of mine.
Hell yeah.
And you know what? Zeri's changed a lot as a champion. One thing which hasn't is a line which I said during that, is that Zeri doesn't always do the most damage, but you can never stop her doing damage. And that was the problem right there. She just jumps and runs you down. Right here, you see a good chunk back onto him, but Yucal, so strong, 2,000 gold ahead. He is the main character. Blue Cal has come out to play, as we'll see exactly what he can do on this pick.
A Super Saiyan Blue Cal.
Yes,
that's exactly what's happened here. Oh, it looks like TT is itching for another fight, or at least going to try to keep this turret alive. The question is, does RNG have the palate to want to go after this? It just doesn't seem like there's going to be anything there as they continue to fall further behind in gold. And Baron up in just a couple of seconds. It's just one TT fight away from claiming it for their own.
Yeah, if anyone dies in a bad enough spot now, TT are going to run over this game. And the level 1, great from RNG. Tanyuan, you can't use combos like that. That is so dangerous. He's in danger now.
Oh, he's getting chunked out. The good news is Yucal wasn't quite there in time, but still going to force away RNG, take all that vision control in the topside jungle. This is the TT we expected to see.
It was, and that level 1 notwithstanding, this has still been a good game from TT. And you know what? The most important thing here is I've started remembering the Star Wars puns I had for this team. So we had Obe-Chuan Kenobi, my favorite, Wookiee in the mid lane, Chewbacca, favorite co-pilot here of TT. I haven't really got that many ideas for the rest of them, but for now, I feel that's a good enough core to build something off of as Thunder Talk. Try and go to light speed, I guess. I don't know. We'll workshop it.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta workshop everything now. The one thing I've been watching recently is everything in my feed has been, you know, when it's raining outside and it's like, I've successfully made contact with the Prime Minister of Camino.
That's fantastic.
TT is building a Zeri army in the mid lane.
Oh, that's great. You need to have like the Nico and LeBlanc there as well. It's like your clone army is very impressive. You must be very proud. Oh, that's fantastic. Oh, that's great. It's like,
well, if you're seeing the clones, I mean, at least the LeBlanc clone, maybe it's not that impressive.
Sure. Well, I mean,
a little scary when it's getting popped.
I've been deceived by those before. It depends how well you use it. That's Beitron walking up. Beitron is now really fed too, despite his terrible early game. Beitron trusted in the force of this Nidalee. There is a Baron startup from RNG. You can't stick on this, though. That would have had to be a real lapse in vision from TT. They don't have something like the Zyra to really burst this. Feather's being engaged onto it. I don't think they win this fight. No, they don't.
They don't have any damage. Genju is burning away and has finally fallen. And Meganar is here to cause some havoc and just keep the carries out pretty much, as Alistar is going to be made into grade A beef. There's an equalizer coming down to the very least. Let's see if Juice is able to do anything. Yucal sustaining through is just far too much. You get a kill on the way back for Misfortune. All right, nice. You got one.
Yeah, wow. It's still a 3-for-1. RNG, they mistake another fight in this mid lane. Again, Tanyuan has really struggled. He's not getting himself the value that you need out of this Alistar, but credit to TT for not giving him that value. They're not clumping up and they're chasing down. They're absorbing this initial engage. Feather is very tanky, and TT gonna get themselves to Soul Point. They get themselves multiple Mountain Dragons. This game is about as good as done. TT, they've kicked off their hyperdrive. They've gone into light speed, and RNG have been completely left in the dust.
When Tangwan is 4,000 gold down, he believes his team is at too big of a deficit, and he must engage in order to get them back into the game. It's the old copy pasta.
Man, the fact that that was from, you know what, that was an RNG copy pasta. Hoya's going to die here on the side later. We miss MLXG and his ability to play out the game. It's going to be not put out from Gage to take down Hoya. I miss that MLXG copy pasta. Back in 2018 when he won that MSI, it was a switch between MLXG and Caster in the jungle. That is a throwback. Now with the overextension towards bot lane, TT can go towards the Baron in the way that RNG couldn't before. Geju is recalling, but he might not be here for a steal. Tanyuan has ult, has flash. He's probably going to flash him for a combo, pop the ult, and see how much time he can buy.
Hey, you know what? He's had some pretty nice combos throughout this game, despite them not coming at the greatest time, trying to do what he can to keep this Nidalee out. It's not enough. The bullet time is going to keep people in a confined area, but it's just a big damage diff. As much as Misfortune has had a great game, although we're seeing a bit of a turnaround because Juice has shown up, but Beishuan has gone golden, and that bought enough time for 1XN to get a quadra kill.
That was still a bit of a mess of a team fight. It won't be the pentakill, but 1XN, the LDL pickup from for TT in the AD carry role came through in 2023 summer and has taken this team to a different level. He has been another carry. This fight actually got really scary because what happens here is the headbutt means the smite's outside of the pit and you have a lot of damage. This goes down to 74 HP and there wasn't a smite. That was actually fantastically well played from Tanyuan. He tries his best there and the damage almost comes back from the equalizer. If the equalizer managed to stick on a target for a little bit longer there, maybe we could be having a different story. This was actually quite spooky. Has to come round to a huge damage cleanup from 1XN and Beitron at the end of this, but considering the state this game was in, RNG made them sweat a little bit, and Tanyuan's dead again, so goodbye.
Unlucky. I think the worst thing is that that's like one of those false hope fights, because you're like, oh, you know, Juice and Keiju came in, they cleaned up, well, they burned double flashes for that, so in this next fight, Hoya can even have an opportunity. It's like, hey, all of these guys are flashless, I'm gonna come in, serve them right up into a wall, and call it a day.
Yeah, I mean, Hoya's not had the easiest game. I think he has struggled. Oh, Spear's hit. Spear, unassisted, needs no setup. Beitron, again, the new hope for TT, takes him down.
Yep, he is passing the Nidalee bar. It didn't look like it earlier on in the game, but has firmly gotten there as the inhibitors begin to fall, as RNG has no response. We're seeing teleport come in on the... no, that's a replay. I'm sorry, my bad. I was like, why are we in frame? As the Alistar will once again fall, they're just farming this cow right now. Bullet time coming through, but Huan Feng has to stand still in order to make that happen. And TT has finally run over the last remnants of RNG. Game 1 looked pretty cool in the beginning for RNG, but they were not able to get the job done. CC buckled in, and they were ready to try and win Game 2 in 2-0 series.
Yeah, I thought that, we've been making all of our Star Wars jokes. I thought it was only meant to be the Sith that used lightning hands. It's Thunder Talk. I guess it was in the name all along. They shock RNG after what was pretty poor level 1 to take themselves that first game in this series. Yukel, fantastic game from Yukel. Yukel and 1XM, that early skirmish and every team fight from beyond that point just ran away with this game. I think that the draft made it very hard for RNG to lock down their key targets if Tanyuan didn't use his combo well, and I don't think he did end up using his combo well enough, except, he is a role swap support in RNG. Definitely have seen